Hello everyone. So today we have Eric Brundidge sir with us in Bibek Talks, and he is highly inspired man, working in multiple startups, and he will be telling us about his journey. How did he started from an average student life and went through a highly productive entrepreneurship journey? So how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me on the show today. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Great to know that, sir. Can you just introduce yourself a bit with our viewers so that we
Yeah,
can understand
definitely.
more?
Like I said, my name is Eric Brundidge. I bounced around from corporate America, three different Fortune 500 jobs to now four different startups I've been with. A lot of different starting my own type of startups, working with people who started their own startups, type of thing. And it's just been a journey, I must say, a journey from figuring out who I was, what I liked, to now, having that experience, that corporate experience, to having different startups going from tech to physical startup experience to AI type of startup experience. It's just all been, I would say, a, it's been an interesting journey. And it all started with just having the mindset of wanting to have more, be in the space, and put myself in the space. So, after going to school, getting a higher education, getting an MBA, and then kind of moving out, like going into the space of moving out to Atlanta, then moving from Atlanta to Silicon Valley, to all different types of places. It allowed me to, you know, put myself in the areas that I wanted to be in, but also be willing to walk on faith and not have fear and what will happen. Because, we all know when you move and you try new things, anything can happen. So that's what I would like to consider, my experience.
Sounds great, being on such a startup, and I hope, when you were in a startup, you end up learning a lot of things because I
Mhm.
believe this 9 to 5 job is just you are in a safe environment at the 9 to 5 job, but being at the environment of startup and competitive exam, you
Mhm.
learn a lot, and you have been
Right.
in multiple conditions, tech
Right.
or other areas also.
Right.
So you're going to give us a lot of valuable content today. So thank you so
Yes.
much for that.
No problem. No
So,
problem. Thank you.
uh, so what was the basic journey? I'm for sure you have been started your life with the 9 to 5 job only. So, what
Yeah.
was the transition or the change, journey of getting into startup?
I think the journey that changed it was first the crazy part was I worked for a professional sports team first, and then I was like, well, all right, I tried that, I didn't like it. It wasn't all that.
Not
And
that.
then yeah, it wasn't all that because with those type of industry gigs, you got to really go at it. And I started off somewhere small, and then on top of that, I saw a lot of people around me that weren't really getting the opportunity to move up, and they were letting me know. And some people might be like, well, I would just stick it out. And no, sometimes you got to know the writings on the wall and know when to pivot. So I pivoted to a corporate job, traveling, doing like project management. And I was like, this is cool. But I was like, I think around this time, I was like, I really want to get into the startup phase. But like with startups, with anything, you apply, and if you don't have the experience, they're not hiring you. They're not hiring you. They're hiring. So I ended up having to take like a bottom basement type entry level type position just to get my foot in the door. But I knew in the long run that it would be great for me to be, launched into other startups and have the experience. So that's what I did. So most importantly, I want to definitely highlight on that. A lot of times people want to come in, depending on what your experiences or your knowledge is, and be like, I want to get paid super the high position, the top coder or the top presentation position, whatever it may be. And it doesn't always work like that for every position. Now, if you do coding, you do IT, AUI type of design, then yeah, that's different. You could come in, and depending on what team you're applying for, they will give you a good position, maybe remote or to come in. But if you're doing more of a sales type of position, a field
Mhm.
marketing, the type of positions that deal with being with people and not dealing with computers, then you actually have to get out in the field, talk to people, stuff like that. You actually have to come in sometimes lower so that you could kind of get your experience, get your feet wet, and then show them. Or nowadays, if you know somebody, you're good to go. But if you don't know nobody, you don't know nobody. Sometimes you might have to come in, depending on what it is, if you just want to get in the field. And at that time, I really didn't have any experience. So it wasn't like I could just be like, nah, I want this, whatever, with that. But if I had a lot of experience back then, it would be different. So it was kind of like, hey, I didn't have a lot of experience, but what am I willing to do to get to where I want to be? So I took the position. It was a learning one. I learned a lot going in. I learned learned about the infrastructure, the business. I did a lot of networking with other people because the crazy fact is some of the people I worked with, they ended up leaving, going to another startup, and they ended up bringing me along to their next startup. So it was a lot of, networking. Like they always say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I would tell everybody like, hey, don't be afraid to go back, to go forward, because sometimes you just need the experience and then you can go ahead and go where you want to go after you get your foot in the door.
Yeah, exactly. I'm agreed with this point. You need to come back 2 steps back if you want to
Mhm.
run forward. So exactly, when you just leave up your job, that there was a secure environment, but still
Yep.
you take out of your job, then
Yep.
you came to step back. But at the end, at the long run, you have been running too fast. That's good.
Yeah.
Definitely, and that point I like to highlight. If you are from an IT background or some finance background, you only know the set of rules or way to work. But being from sales and marketing and other departments, it is hard for
Mhm.
you. Exactly,
Yeah.
and having without experience, it
Yeah.
is more
Really,
harder.
yeah, it's a little bit different, especially if you're not coming in with a lot of experience. And at that time, I was coming in with no type of experience. I had that project manager experience, but it was a little different compared to, you come into a startup world and they have the positions for sales this person or sales that person. That's whole two different types of experiences. So, you have to sometimes, like I said, go back, take something lower just to kind of get to where you want. But once you get that experience, then you're off to the run and you
That's
can
awesome.
cultivate it however way you want. So yeah.
Exactly, definitely. So, what was that one thing? Let me tell the audience first. I
Uh,
was talking with her, and he told me that he had been a very average student on his school life and early life. So, what was that one thing which made you, transform your total your life? That you became from an average student or average boy to a successful entrepreneur. What was that your one?
I would have to be it would be the ability to see other people doing what they're doing and working and being like, I could do this, because I have the podcast and I consider that my entrepreneurship journey, because you and I both know it's like having a podcast is something, is work. It's real, like a lot of work. You got to market it, you got to put it out to the masses. It's getting on that
Mm,
entrepreneurship journey, being able to be responsible for something that you create and having to be successful. But like you said before, what made me go that way? I think for the simple fact that my dad's always done different entrepreneurship journeys. He's worked he's been military, and then he started his own business, and then that was successful, and then he sold that business. Then he had another business, sold that business, and it was just a simple fact that you know have working, getting the experience, but also at the same time understanding like, okay, where do I want to be to give me the freedom that I want? And I feel like, and also allow my personality to shine, because even though when you're at work, your personality can shine. But when I'm doing my podcast, a lot of times my personality shines even more, because it's me determining how the outcome goes. It's me determining how far we go. It's me determining what it can be. And I think that's the most important thing with anybody. You're going after your entrepreneurship dreams or going after your career job. You got to ask yourself, how much of this do I want to bet on myself, or do I want to bet on others? Because a lot of times when you're at work, you're betting on yourself, but you're betting on somebody above you or around you, that they don't try to sabotage you, do something to you. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're betting on yourself with your own self-development, in a sense, or like, I can do this, I can be successful, I can change my path. Because you and I both know, like, all it takes is a couple of years of consistency with your podcast, maybe even less than that. And next thing you know, you could be big as Tim Ferriss, big as Eric Thomas and all them in the world. And now you having generational wealth for all your family members, and you're doing something that you love. So the switch just always has been there, but I just kind of understood like everybody switch turns differently. Some people switch turns at 15, 16. I think my parents would kind of just let me like, we'll let him figure out when he's ready to make that switch, because sometimes your parents are, if they're doing it, they could push you to do it, and then you not be ready for it, or it could burn you out, or you could have a bad experience and scar you.
exactly.
But if you kind of go at your own pace with anything, then you'll be ready to go. Kind of like with people who are like, I don't like my job. Once you leave, yeah, and then they say that for like 2 years, and then finally the third year they leave. You can't make someone want to leave. They got to be able to willing to leave on their own. And it's just all about having that switch click for you, and you're like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Definitely, I'm agreed with this point that you need to figure out by your own.
Hmm.
At a phase in everyone's life, a phase came up there, and it is, although it is going to come. Like,
Yeah,
what do you want to do actually? How do you want your personality to be looked by people, and how do you want to design yourself? So
right.
exactly, that phase will come. For some people, it comes late in their life. For
Yeah.
some people, it comes very early, like 16, 17, 18.
Hmm.
For me, it came in somewhere around when I was like 17, when I got to know what I actually need in my life. Not fully, but
Hmm.
although some rough figure or some roadmap I got. And that was really nice moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always a plus moment.
definitely. So you have been on startup journeys and this
Yeah.
all, where you're betting on yourself. As you only mentioned that you're not betting on others or your highly qualified employees. You're betting on yourself.
Hmm.
So, some of the qualities which are required in this phase, and some of them I'm just mentioning here is what do you think about the relationship between a great leader and a
Hmm.
great community, or simplifiedly, what is the relationship between communication skills and leadership? If you want to shine like a leader,
I think being a great leader and a great communicator, you got to have a lot of you got to have a lot of skills, and a lot of the skills are sometimes skills that you don't even think you got to have. Because I realized while doing working in the startup space, everybody, even in corporate space, everybody's is different. Everybody's culture is different. Some people don't react well. Some people don't take information well. So I think one of the most important features you got to have is the ability to listen. You got to be able to listen to people, because listening will allow you to hear what their voicing their problem may be, or what they need, or their personality. Sometimes a lot of people come in and just start talking, and you're never hearing what anybody else says. And because of that, they be like, "Well, I know when so and so comes around here, all he's gonna do is talk my head off. He's not even gonna care what I have to say." So I feel like being a great leader in communication, you got to be able to listen. Listen will be number one. Two, having I would say number two would be well-rounded. And I say well-rounded in the sense where understanding that everybody's not going to be like you. Everybody doesn't think like you, and everybody's not going to process information like you. Prime example, you
yeah,
might have some employees that come into the office that are real cheerful, speak to everybody, hey, how you doing? But then you might have some good employees that come in, don't say anything, go to their desk, do their job, go home. Does that make them a bad employee? No. Some people may be like, well, they don't fit into the culture. But why don't they fit in the culture? Because they keep to themselves, because they might be introverted. And a lot of times, if someone's an introvert, you have to extend yourself and just kind of, warm them up to get used to it, because you never know why they're an introvert. They could be an introvert because they've always been shy all their life. They could be an
yeah,
introvert because of their last job. Someone made them feel uncomfortable where they felt like, their voice wasn't heard. You really don't know someone's past experiences as to why they're doing something. So being well-rounded to understand that everybody's different, and that you have to, uh, you know, change your leadership abilities to each person makes a difference. But you got to be able to see that on the fly, like playing soccer or playing any type of sport or coding. You got to be able to spot the problem and be able to change on the fly to be like, all right, I need to change how I leadership to him, how I lead to him. Another third one, I would have to say, admitting when you're wrong. A lot of times, a lot of supervisors, a lot of people that are in higher positions, they don't like to admit when they're wrong. And people that you lead, they know when you're wrong. You'll say something and they'll be completely wrong. And instead of you being like, "Oh man, you guys were right, you did a good job," complimenting them, they'll be like, "Oh, okay." And then a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people like it when you're normal, you're human. You'll be like, "Hey, you guys were right. I did the wrong thing. I told you I'd do the wrong thing. I'm glad you guys are on my team. I'm glad you guys realized and able to fix it. You guys are heroes. You guys are rock stars. And I'm sorry for being wrong." You'd be surprised. You say those words to someone, they'd be like, "See, he appreciates me." And then he doesn't mind being wrong. And then the fourth one would have to be gratitude. I realize
yeah,
while leading a lot of people, I try not to come down on them when they do things wrong all the time, but I like to compliment them all the time when they do something right. Because a lot of times as a leader, we only compliment you when we only bring up something when you do something wrong. But when you do something right, we never compliment you. I've seen that happen a lot of times. So we need to make sure we compliment all the time when they do something right. And if they do something wrong, don't come at them and be like, "Man, you did this. This is wrong." I learned from experience. instead of coming at them, I explain to them like, hey, so what happened with the situation with the sales plan? Well, I always say what happened. Explain to me what happened. Because I already know the answer. So while you're explaining, I'll be like, well, how come you didn't try it like this? And then I'm like, see, you kind of, it may have not came together or you messed up because X, Y, Z. And then I explain it instead of picking up the phone. Those numbers are messed up. You just did it all wrong. And when you come down on a person, they don't feel like you're trying to teach, trying to help, or trying to, understand their side of the story. But when you ask them, hey, explain to me what you were thinking, then you're able to see their their mindset, because you'd be surprised some people's mindset, and when they explain to you how it sounds, and then you look at it and you hear it and you're like, that makes sense. That makes sense how you could read that, because you're reading a document one way, but then they could be reading the document one way, a different way, because because they haven't been explained to like that, or somebody didn't explain it to them, or if it was explained to them, they forgot and they thought that this was the right thing. So it's best to have those traits when dealing with leadership and communication. So, overall, summarize it up. Just be willing to be listened, be well-rounded, give gratitude, and always make sure to compliment when they're doing right. And if they're doing wrong, just always ask them to explain what they're doing wrong so you can hear their mindset, and then explain to them why it was wrong and how they need to fix it.
Definitely. Because the thing is that people, when you are a higher level, you're not dealing with the product anymore. You're dealing with the human who are holding your product or your service. And dealing with humans is the most complex thing in this world. You can handle thousands of startups at the same time, but you cannot handle thousands of employees at the same time. Because thousands of different employees means thousands of different brains working differently, thinking differently. So exactly, I'm agreed with this point that listen to them, make them gratitude, and listening is very important. I'm strongly like that point.
Yeah, definitely. This is very, very important. Very important.
Many people don't know the power of listening. They only believe that speaking is all the way they're gonna help or they're gonna progress. But actually, when you listen to someone, you got to know something which you actually don't know.
Yeah. You really got a point, because when you listen to them, they will start telling you what they want or what they need. Because some employees are all different, are motivated differently. Prime example, some employees you talk to, you listen to them, they're like, man, I just want to get paid, man. I just want to make sure I'm good, taken care of. And you'll be like, that's all they talking about. Like, so what do you feel about the job, the environment, the culture? Man, I don't care about none of that, man. I just want to make sure I'm getting paid. You know what I'm saying? I could deal with this. It's so much better than my last job. But then some people you talk to, they're like, I just want the flexibility to be able to hang out with my family. That's why I start early. That's why I like to start at 7, get off at 4, hang out with my daughter. And that's what they're about. They're about the culture of flexibility, so you start to listen and you understand how some people set up their day, how some people set up their day. One person set up their day in a sense where they may start at 9 and go to 7 because they don't mind it. They don't have a family, and they're just like, hey, I'm gonna work it out, and it is what it is. Some person has a family, they'll start at 7:30 so they can finish at 4:30 because they're like, I have a family, I want to be with my daughter, my husband, whoever, my boyfriend, whatever. But you won't know that until you listen to them, and then you can kind of see what motivates them, what motivates them the more. Some people motivated by money, some people motivated by family, some people motivated by their flexibility, some people motivated by the ability to move up. Like, hey, will this job have the ability to move different positions, the XYZ? But you won't know that until you ask them or you talk to them like, hey, what are you looking for in this position? Hey, what are you looking for out of this company? What's your goals? Things like that. And then they'll tell you. Some people will tell you, some people will give you, whatever answers. But at the end of the day, you got to ask, because you just never know what you'll get when you ask them.
Exactly. Definitely. So that is the reason, listening people is important. But I let them chance to speak as well.
Yeah.
So what is the skill or the way or the path, whatever I can say, that how can you use your learning skills and your job to capture your dream job or dream startup or anything like that? What do you think?
I think I tell people on my podcast, Life of Times to Eric, the way you go about using the skills that you obtain every day at your job or regular life to go after your dream job or your entrepreneurship journey is by looking at the things you do every day. A lot of times people think like, hey, I don't have them skills to start this. And on my podcast, I like to use a lot of, examples. So let's use an example. Let's say Jane Joe works at the bank and she's like, hey, I want to start my own cosmetic line, right? And she's like, but I don't know anything about cosmetics. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to even start this. What skills do I have from the bank that can help me run a cosmetic line? And I would tell Jane Joe, like, one, you know about overhead, because at the bank, you look at people finances, you know about numbers, you know about the understanding of loans and debts, because even if you're a bank teller or you're not, you see loans going on. You see people come in that bank taking out money that they're not prepared for. You understand the banking system. So that puts you in a position that when you do need to ask for a loan or create something, you understand that. Along with that, you understand the divvying of what it's going to cost you in the sense where to make your product. Because working at a bank, that's all you deal with is money wise. Then on top of that, having that finance experience, you're able to do your bookkeeping. And that bookkeeping allows you to make sure your books are right. Because we all know if the books aren't right, how you going to make money? Then working in the banking community, think about it. This is what I would say to her. If you're working in a banking community, how many other banks people do you know? Well, I know the people at this bank. I know the people at the other bank. I know the people at this other bank. Well, what do those banks do? Well, those banks deal with businesses. Those banks deal with overhead. Those banks deal with loans. So you're already working with other banking people that deal well with your field and that deal well with helping you do what you do. Oh, I never think about that, because a lot of times we don't think about the connections of people that we run into every day to help us. Someone that's working in banking will be like, I don't have the marketing experience to make this sale. Well, technically, if you work in a bank, you have employees that you deal with every day. If you create your product, you'll be able to give it to them and be like, hey, do you want to try this out? And a lot of people will be like, yeah, I'll try your product out, that you work with already. They're already relationships that you see. Definitely. Because a lot of people that work in the bank industry, a lot of them are females, a lot of them are guys. So it's a split. So if you create a product and you give it to your friends or people that you know, have them try it out for free, a lot of people will try it. So those are customers are right there. And if they like it, what do you think they'll do for the people that come to them, that the customers that they have on the regular, that come meet with them talking about their financial journeys or just come up to the teller? They'll be willing to give it to them or give it to their friends or whoever. So I think a lot of times we have the skills, but we look at certain things that we don't have it. Like someone that works at the bank might think, I don't have any marketing skills, but you might not need that marketing skills. All you need is people skills. And those people skills that you have is that you meet people every day that know you from the bank, and you meet people in other banks and you're able to give your product out to them. And that's word of mouth. And that word of mouth will travel a lot farther than trying to put up all kind of ads at the time being, and it will save you money. So that's just like one example I would use to show them like you have the skills around you to do what you need to do. Plus I also tell people, pull out a list. Make a list of all the skills that you use every day. Make top 10 skills I use every day, whether it be talking to people, communications, networking, and then second, write down all the people that you run into every day at your job. Do you run into people that do sales? Do you run into people that do marketing? And I say run into meaning like in your office or around your area that you work at or in your building that you know. Because those people that you meet every day, you'd be surprised if you just talk to them about something, you can be able to pick their mind because you already have friendships with them and they'll give you information or show you what you need to do. Because a lot of times people start products and they have someone next door to them that has 10 or 12 years with doing a product, and all you got to be is like, hey man, so you've done products like started big products before? Yeah. So how would someone start a big product if we were thinking about doing that? Oh, they would need to do. And the person don't mind telling you because you already been friends with them. But we don't think about asking people that are in our office building or around us or that we see every day because we feel like that may be uncomfortable or I'm not thinking about it. And sometimes being, going after your dream job or entrepreneurship, you got to be uncomfortable. And if you want to go after your dream job, because that was just entrepreneurship part, for your dream job, you got to put yourself in the space, meaning you got to get on LinkedIn, use LinkedIn and email people, ask them how they got to that position. You'd be surprised. LinkedIn people or people on LinkedIn are willing to help. Join different industry groups that are on LinkedIn. Go to different meetups in your city. Google meetups, and a lot of them are free. And I guarantee you, when you go, you'll be able to start meeting people. Go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings. A lot of Chamber of Commerce meetings, I've realized, have a lot of people that are heavyweights in your city. If your city has a lot of corporations, they always send one person there to go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, and you're able to network for free while meeting people and putting yourself in the space. And a lot of times, it's all about getting in the space, meeting people, and having people understand who you are. Because when we all know that on a job, 75%, I was reading, people hire people that they know. So if someone knows you, they'll hire you instead of being like, I don't really know X, Y, Z. That's how it is in the startup world. They know you, they'll hire you. It's always somebody that they know they'll hire, just like with corporate. So if you put yourself in these spaces when it comes to going for your job, it'll work out for you.
Exactly. Being uncomfortable and making people to look at you, understand you.
Yep.
There are many ways to do that, because as you mentioned that 75% of the employees are hired known person, because they already know about your skills, your mindset, your personality, so they will hire you.
Yeah.
But no one's gonna know you, then it is hard for you. You need to market yourself.
Yes, it's definitely hard for yourself. And then on top of that, once you put yourself in those spaces and you meet those HR managers or whoever, it allows you to develop a relationship so they can end up putting you in other positions, promoting you higher. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people get promoted because they fit well with others or people like being around them. You got to remember, when you go for your career job, you're going to be spending the majority of your life at work. So you're going to want to be around people that are going to make you feel happy, not people that are going to depress you. You know what I mean? So
it is not a joke. You're gonna, spend your 10 to 15 years of your life working with the same people and the same HR or other employees. So you need to make your, accordingly, you need to understand. And in this journey of your startup, what was the role of your mentor? Do you have any kind of mentor in this journey?
Yeah, I think the role of my mentor, I have like a couple of them. I had one mentor, he had his own business, and he did like beverages and stuff like that, but he played a part because he was always like, hey, go for what you know, don't quit, keep on going. And then I had another mentor that did podcasting, and the podcasting mentor, he had started his podcast, it was going well, and then life expectancy happened, he ended up having a family, so he slowed down, but he knew a lot in the sense for breaking down the episodes, understand how to market, thinking about different ways about how to get the podcast out in an affordable way. He used to always tell me ideas like, hey, you ever thought about creating stickers? This is why I used to create stickers on my podcast and go around just putting them all over the place. I'm like, putting them all over the place? He's like, yeah, don't you go around sometimes and see stickers on gas stations, signs? I was like, yeah, that's free marketing. I was like, people see that? You seen them, you see people's stickers. I was like, yeah, I didn't think about that. And then he was also like, you drive up to a light, and I was like, yeah, when I drive up to a light, don't you see sometimes signs that say I want to buy your home, or check out this address? I was like, yeah, I see those signs. I was like, someone has a sign like 1-800 I buy cash cars. Yeah, you see it, right? Yeah, that's marketing. Why don't you put your sign up there with your podcast? I was like, yeah, those little signs that they bought, those you can get like 40 of them for maybe, I don't know, $80, but you put them every day at a light and someone drives up and sees that, you'll get some retraction from people. And I was like, dang, I said, that's not bad. He's like, you got to think about things outside of just doing social media. That's great, but think outside the box. Get your city involved, get them on board, because you never know who could be looking and seeing and checking you out, and then want you to come in and speak and then do everything else. So he was a very good mentor. You know what I'm saying? I still speak to him here and there. He's got the family journey going on, but he put a lot of those ideas in my head in the sense for thinking outside the box on a shoestring type of budget, because he was all about having results but spending less to make more. And that's what you got to do, when you go on that whole journey of whatever you're doing with your business. You got to be able to want to spend less and triple and quadruple your return.
Definitely. I'm going to use this strategy then.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some small
like little stickers. He was like, put the little stickers. I was like, he would show me, he's like, little stickers here, did. I'm like, man, that's so crazy. But then it was working. He had I remember him putting stickers on little benches and signs, and people seeing him like, hey, I seen you on the little bench over there. He's like, yeah.
It is he gonna work? That is making sense, I guess. Because you can, and you and I see the same advertisement on the gas
Yeah.
station. Then why others are not looking at that? Definitely they are gonna look at, and
Oh
some
yeah.
attract.
Yeah, definitely they're gonna see that. And then he even was taking the old model approach, which is so crazy. I don't know if they do it over there, but over here, when there's a party, people put flyers on cars. He was doing that for his podcast. He would go out to a club, and instead of having a flyer, he'd be like, "Check out this podcast." He would just go around putting his podcast flyer on cars. I was like, I'm like, what? He's like, people grab the flyer, and even though they throw it off, some people may grab it and look at it and be like, I'll check out this podcast. It's free. I'll check it out. And he's like, think about it, Eric. Think about it. I was like, I passed out 1,000 flyers. I was like, okay. I get 10% return. I was like, okay, 100. But ones out of them hundreds, I get them on my email list. Then out of that 100, they tell a friend they like me. That's 150. Oh. But the 1,000 flyers only cost me $4. And I done got 100 people on my email list, or maybe even more than that. You do that for so long, you're gonna get a return, Eric. And I was like, dang, that guy's smart. That's smart. I didn't think about that. That is real smart, because it's cheap. It's a large pool, and then on three, you don't know who's gonna be a return to the pool to want to listen to more of your podcast or your business, or tell a friend to tell a friend. But you got to put yourself in the space to go do it.
And someone can be your potential guest as well in your upcoming podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That sounds great,
Yeah.
Listening about your mentor.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, he had a lot of great ideas. It was like, and that's another thing I want to touch on. People listening, like, you got to go find mentors that are in the field that you're in, because if I'm doing podcasts and this mentor, he does cars, that's great, but he's not going to know how to work the field that I'm in. That's why it was good to have a podcast type mentor, because he understood the trials and tribulations, getting views, getting downloads, getting sponsorships, getting new retention of people, bringing a new audience on. He understood all those things. And because of that, he was the one that was allowing me to, like, all right, think outside the box on a shoestring budget and to have a return. So that's why it's very important to get a mentor that's in your lane. And if you're thinking to yourself like, Eric, well, I don't know nobody. Shoot, I didn't know him. I found him on LinkedIn. And then I saw him, and then I saw he was part of a group, and then I went to that meetup that I saw, the group that he was part of on LinkedIn. Like, he's a part of this group that meet every Wednesdays at this little coffee shop thing. So I went, met him, and then we got cool. So that's why I'm like, LinkedIn's free, so you have no excuse.
Definitely, in this modern world, you don't need actually a physical mentor. Like, you can be my mentor. I don't need you to be at my neighbor or go gym with me or go park with me. You're online with me. I can follow you in many Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms, and I can take mentorship from you all. So getting a good mentor in this modern world is quite easy.
Oh, definitely. I give you a little bonus for your audience. At one point, I was starting another business. It was a dating site. It never blossomed like I wanted to, but I ended up contacting, like you said, a mentor of mine. I didn't know him. I contacted him. He started a dating site, had over 100 million users. So I contacted him on Instagram. We talked a couple times, and then I was like, hey, you mind if we actually have a phone call? Because we talked through emails. And he's like, yeah. So I talked to him. I was telling him what I was doing, and I had been doing this for 3 or 4 years, like trying to get it up and down. The site would go live, but never really go live the way I wanted, because I couldn't find a good coder. And then that's why I realized it's very important to find a good coder. That's the main important thing for anything, And then we talked, and then I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. And I'll never forget, he was like, Eric, if it was up to me and I had to do it all over again, I would never start a dating site. It was the worst thing ever. It's like, all right. And on that day, 3 or 4 years later, the whole idea died. I just maybe this is a sign, because I have not really got the site up to where I want it to be, because a lot of people don't understand AI and algorithms, and they just say they do, but they don't. And talking to him, who's had 100 million users and then lost it all, he gave me the explanation. He gave me explanation and broke it down like It's hard. The money. A lot of people are used to doing their certain type of using a certain type of website. They're committed to that. They're loyal to that. Don't do it. Majority of dating sites run by the certain big three. All this other stuff, and I was like, gotcha. But I never met him. Met him online, like you said. But I had the opportunity to talk to him because of that. He ended up showing me that I need to pivot out of that and leave it alone, and I sure enough did. And I just remember seeing other people after me try to start dating sites, and they were going. And I was just like, that ain't gonna work. And sure enough, 2 or 3 years for them, it didn't work neither because I had been through there and I had seen why it didn't work because he pretty much gave me the whole blueprint by talking to him and explained to me the three ingredients that you need to even have a successful dating site. Two of the main ingredients is money. You gotta have money. Like I'm not talking like small money. So you gotta have money like 10 to 15 million starting off because it's just gonna cost you that much just for marketing. And then he also said all your money is gonna bleed to always paying for new customers when it comes to a dating site. That's why a lot of the sites that you see now are ran by the same people. Tinder, Match, Hinge, all those are all owned by Match.com. They own all those sites, so that's why it's very important that you have a lot of money to bleed out because it's going to cost you so much for a customer acquisition. So he was like, unless you got 15 million to burn off the gate at the beginning, this might not be for you. So when I see other people doing it, I just try to tell them like, hey, this is what it's going to cost. They're like, no, I can do this. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to need certain types of money to get into it with the big boys. And then even the smaller ones that are getting there, it's taking time. It's taking years. It's taking years. You really got to be devoted. You got to get the funding, the startup. So yeah, I say all that to say, talking to him allowed me to realize that this might not be where I need to be.
Exactly. Definitely. And that is the most important, that is the biggest role of your mentor. They will make you clear that actually you're going in a good path or not. Exactly. And that is the biggest. We need someone to guide us at each and every step of your life.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So this question is something related to the last sentence we get told, and this is going to be the end, I guess, somewhere. How do you find yourself? When you are in this culture of startup and all, you don't know where you are going to end. Either that end is going to be highly successful within $1 billion amount, or it is going to lead your 1 decade of your hard work. How do you find what is the end going to be, or your path is successful, or it is going to be towards unsuccessful?
I think, how do you find that your path is going to be successful or not successful? I think it all depends on you. It really all depends on you and what you're looking for. And I say all that to say, let's use another example. Let's say, I don't know, you're a professional athlete, and I'm not saying you're a professional athlete. Let's just say you look at two athletes. One makes it to the league, the other one makes it to the league. One goes to the Hall of Fame, one doesn't go to the Hall of Fame. Now that one that didn't go to the Hall of Fame, is their career a bust? No. I mean, it could be in your mind because you're like, you didn't go to the Hall of Fame. But to them, it may not be a bust because they felt like they're successful because they're able to take care of their family. They enjoy being in the league. They enjoy being around friends. They were able to conquer their dreams and do what they want. I say all that to say, now let's apply that to somebody that's working and somebody else that's working, making 6 figures, and somebody that's working that's not making 6 figures. That person making 6 figures may be like, hey, this is my goal. I made 6 figures. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. But are they happy? But do they have a family? Was that part of their goals? Their goal could just been wanting to make 6 figures and just, buy, things all day long and live in that lavish. Somebody that might not be making 6 figures could be, my goal was to be able to take care of my family, spend time with my kids, spend time with my girlfriend, my boyfriend, being able to save money up so that whenever I do finally retire from my job, I'm living comfortable, I'm living lavish, I'm doing what I want to do, having a nice truck, buying a nice vehicle, whatever it may be, And I always say on my podcast, success is all about how you dictate, how you look at it. Because if you don't know what success looks like to you, then you'll constantly let others make you feel like you're unsuccessful. That's why a lot of people that are 19, 20, getting on Instagram feeling like they're not doing nothing with their lives because they see other people. When I was 20 years old, I was out here driving Ferraris and doing Amazon fulfillment. Like, come on, man, stop that. Like, seriously. And so now you got another 20-year-old who's just kind of figuring out life, feeling like they see that and feeling like I'm not doing anything with my life. When all actuality, You are doing something with your life. You're figuring out what you want to do. You're figuring out what you like. And I think to say all that is you have to know what success is to you. Like you could be prime example, your success, you could be like, man, I'm working on my podcast every day. I'm getting better and better. That could be your success because you know you're consistent with your podcast, you're getting better, and then the end result, you know it's gonna go to higher expectations. Somebody else's success could be like, I'm going to school for 4 years. When I'm done with this, I'm gonna give me a master's, and then I'm gonna give me a good job. I'm gonna be able to save up, take care of my family members, meet me a spouse or whoever I want, and do comfortable and be able to help others. That could be their success. But then somebody else's success could be like, I just want to get paid every day, all day. So it doesn't matter what I'm gonna do, And you have to realize that everybody's success journey is differently. But the problem is a lot of us don't realize what success means to us. And because as an individual, we don't know what success means to us, we're too busy seeing social media try to dictate what success is. So now we're grabbing so many different type of success. Like, oh, success means that I got a $300,000 house. Oh, success means that I got a this type of watch. Oh, success means that I'm wearing designer clothes. Oh, success means, no, that doesn't mean success. That doesn't make you successful, because there's a lot of people that have all those things and still end up committing suicide. Still unhappy, still have suicide thoughts, still got to go to rehab, still have a drug problem. Because that's why a lot of times you be like, how does someone be worth $300 million and they have a drug problem? Because they don't know what success is. They haven't dealt with them demons, and all success did was amplify the problems that they already had. So that's why I always say you got to know what it means to you. For all you can know, it could be just living at home with your parents, spending time with your folks all day, and making a good job that allows you to take care of them. That could be success to you. But if it's success to you, don't let nobody else make you feel uncomfortable about what success is.
Definitely. So the first thing is to understand what actually the end or the goal or the success is according to you. What it looks like.
What it looks like. Understand, and to find that out, I always say on my podcast, make a plan, create a strategy. Because a lot of times if you just go wandering, you'll get lost in the woods. But if you have a strategy or plan, like, all right, look, you have a 5-step plan or a plan like, look, 1, I want to make all these episodes. Okay, let's say you have a business or a podcast or whatever. You say, hey, I want to make all these episodes. 2, I want to promote these episodes. 3, after I promote those, how do I go to the next level? Think of different ways for different marketing to get different people. 4, I want to grow my email marketing list. 5, I want to get in touch with different types of guests so that I have everything together. 6, I want to grow so-and-so on my YouTube. But if you have a job, your first thing could be on your job list would be 1, I want to finish my degree. 2, what do I need to be ready to promote higher? Do I need a master's later on in that field? Okay, let's get a master's. If I don't, let's find a job in that field. 2, all right, do I need how much experience? 3, let me join whatever society or club they have. If I do psychology, or if I do sales, they always have the sales club, or a membership that you could join and start networking with other people. Like Engineers Network, NASB, and all the things like that. Make a list of all the things that you want to get to where you're successful, and on that list, just crossing through what you need to do so that you can get to the end of the list where you can feel like this is my success and this is what's going to put me in a better position. I've joined a club, I joined an organization. I've been networking. All right, I have my resume up to par. I'm meeting other people. I've gotten the experience. Now I'm gonna start applying. Am I willing to move? What makes me happy? Just being here in the city makes me happy. Once you have a list, have a strategy, have an understanding, I realized to me, having a list and having it, seeing it, a to-do list, or just seeing it written down, like where I want to go, helps me. Because a lot of times if we don't have it written down where we want to go, we'll just aimlessly start going places and something could easily attract our eye. Like, hey, Eric, yeah. Hey man, we can hang out and do so-and-so over here at this club. Okay. But
Let's go.
I don't need to join that computer club because that computer club ain't helping me get to where I want with my podcast club. I need to be focusing on just joining the podcast club so I can meet other podcasters who can show me stuff. I joined the computer club, they're talking about apps. I don't need to be doing an app right now. I need to be focusing on the podcast club. So, but if I have a list and what I feel will put me to where success I need to be for success for myself, I always look at the list and be like, okay, all right, I'm following the list. Okay, joining the app club to make apps isn't part of the list. I need to stay in the podcast club. You know, you won't get sidetracked easily picking up other assignments or doing other things. That's not going to get you closer to your success of where you want to be.
Definitely. I'm using that book. I write down all of the things in a small notebook. I write down that today I have a podcast with this guest. I need to ask this or discuss this, or what are the key points about that my potential guest, what I'm gonna focus on, what I'm not focused on. Yeah. And that makes me very easy and comfortable. I just look at the one and I'm ready to go with it.
Ready to go. See, and that makes a difference because you have an understanding. Think about if you didn't have that notebook and you just come in and like, all right, I'm gonna do this. You're gonna start randomly talking in the trees. So what would make you want to do this? And the next question would be like, so what do you feel would be a good thing a person needs to have to be? What? Like, where did that question come from? You know, you don't have no plan. You don't have a plan because it's just all over the place. You know, that's why a lot of times a successful podcast has an outline and kind of explains. I remember when I first was doing my podcast, in the beginning, I really didn't have an outline. But then around season 2 and 3, when I got an outline, it allowed me to kind of stay on topic instead of wandering into the trees, talking about other stuff, and then having to realize I need to bring it back. It allows me to be like, topic 1, topic 2, this is why I need to stay on topic to make sure that I explain my point so that it's like a funnel. It's going all the way down to the main point where you can grasp it in enough time, in a short amount of time, so that you can be like, dang, he got to the point efficiently and effectively, instead of being like, all right, man, where are you going? All right, man, where are we going? You did all that talking for 15 minutes just to bring me back to a point you could have already got to. So that's why it's very important to have a list of what you want, what you feel to be successful, and to get to where you want to get to. So
exactly what actually the podcast is gonna look like, what actually viewers are gonna get after listening or looking at the podcast.
Yep. Or what you're gonna get after, you know, going after your dream job or going after your entrepreneurship job. You know, I think everybody's whole successful when they go after their job, when they go after their dream job, is to be at that dream position, getting paid and doing certain things. So you got to have a list so you know where you're going to get there.
Definitely. I am strongly agreed with this point. So what, at the end, I'd just like to ask you that any advice to our young generation, or take an example of me only. I'm younger. What advice could you give me as a mentor, as a guest?
Yeah. I think that the main advice I would give after learning from what I've gone through is one, consistency. My podcast, when I did the first year, I did it, and then I took a year off because I was moving around working. And then 2, I did the second time, took another year off, which I shouldn't have did. And then 3rd it's going, and then now I'm getting back consistency. Because if I hadn't took the different years off between each one, I would have been in a whole different spot. You'd be surprised what your life could be like when you have consistency going on, when you have the ability to stay with something and not keep stopping and going. So when I tell people don't stop and go, I've learned from experience, don't stop and go. Just keep going, because you get better at it. It's just like an artist. The more songs you put out, the better. It's easier for you to create. It's better for you to record, things like that. So consistency would be 1. 2, don't let anybody ever make you feel like you can't do something or shatter your dreams. I don't care if you got 8 views or 8 downloads now, and someone's like, man, you just need to give that up and get a job. Remember now, every master started off as a beginner. Always remember that. I always tell myself that.
Talented. No one was born like that.
No one was born like that, but everybody seems to think that all of a sudden magically after you do so many episodes, you're just gonna be the master. It doesn't work like that. 3, don't do everything for money. Because if you're doing everything for money, then you'll never ever actually be able to do something without getting paid. Because you'll always think there's got to be some kind of monetary value behind it. Or you'll be hesitant to help other people or do things because you're like, they got to be paying me for that. And a lot of times I've realized when I've done other things for people for free, I've gotten a bigger return than money could even call for. Like someone may be like, man, come on my show and just talk with so and so for a few because I need another guest. And when you need me to come on, can you come on in an hour? Oh, all right, I'll come on. And then I come on and talk, and then all of a sudden I get 15 to 20 new people that like, check me out and want to listen because they're like, oh man, we heard you speak, and then they're happy that I came on. They appreciate it. So always be willing to give without. And then a lot of times, some people or have a mindset of, man, I'm not gonna be doing no more things until I start getting paid. Sometimes it takes a while for you to even get paid or getting compensated, being compensated. Sometimes you just got to keep doing it, and then the money will come. I know that sounds crazy, especially when you're in different situations and you're like, look, I need to get paid. I need to get paid. But sometimes, like, it's been like that for a lot of people. The Gary V's, the Eric Thomases, they've done a lot of engagements before they even blew up, but they kept crafting their skills so that when it was time, they were already ready. Because a lot of times people get paid and they're not ready, and they don't understand why no one wants to bring them back because they already got a bad name, because they're not ready to talk for a long time. They're not ready to give good information. They're not ready to explain things, and they don't realize that. So that will be my number 3. I'm going to give you 5 things. Number 4 would be to align yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, whether it be on LinkedIn. Even if you don't know them, always reach out to them, because this is how I look at it. On LinkedIn, when I reach out to people and I shoot my shot, I think about the Kobe and Michael Jordan approach. You miss half the shots you don't take. So what's the worst they could say to me is, no, I don't have time to speak to you. No, I can't give you advice. All right, then. Well, I'm back to square one. I didn't know you in the first place. Okay, then, cool. Right. But what happens if they be like, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you. So what happens then? Now, all of a sudden, you might have somebody that you didn't know that could put you on $1 million worth of game for free without you paying anything, just because you got outside your comfort zone. And then 5, I would say, listen to books, audiobooks, or read books or podcasts that talk about what you want to do. Don't always just listen to just music, but listen to stuff that's going to give you a word or a mindset to go after what you want. Like I listen to the 50th Law, and I also listen to certain podcasts, because sometimes certain books, certain things, you don't always have to hear the whole book. Sometimes it could just be a certain line or words in it that can keep you moving. Yeah, words like that. Like in the 50th Law with 50 Cent and Robert Greene, they have different sections where that's really hits me in my spirit, in a sense where it's always like, even in chaos, keep moving. Because that's how life is. It can be chaotic. And a lot of times when things get chaotic, people freeze up. They're like, even in chaos, keep moving. Keep moving, even in momentum. Understanding that, the mortality of your life, in that sense is like understanding that at some point you're all going to die. So since you're all going to die, you need to come to terms with mortality and use your time wisely every day. And that helps out in the sense where it'll stop you from looking at petty stuff. People saying they don't like you. You won't waste time with that. You'll go after your goal because every day could be the last day you're here. Things like that just kind of, resonate with your mind. So those would be the 5 things I would give you, to, good advice that I would like to say. So, because I know a lot of times people give you advice and it's always like, keep pushing and work hard. Man, that crap don't be working. I don't want to hear that, man. That's why I love my podcast. I like to give actionable tips. And what I gave is actionable tips, like, be out your comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? Meeting people, reaching out to others. The tips I gave you are all actionable, stuff that you could do today. And last one, plan out where you want to go. Plan out where you want to go. That's definitely one. Plan out the 6th one. Plan out where you want to go. If you want to be the top #1 podcast on iTunes, how can you get there? Getting more guests, doing more marketing, contacting more people, getting more people around your area knowing about you, going to more clubs, more podcast events, networking with people, because now you're just expanding your range from that so that people can know more about you. So just have a list on how you can get there. So add that in there as number 6. So yeah, those would be my 6 tips I would give.
That's great. Rather than just giving and telling that keep pushing yourself and all, you gave us the relevant and the actionable and the things which can be really applicable without thinking too much. Consistency is something which you can start today only. You need to be consistent, focused, and just keep on working on your things. So these are the things. I am very thankful for that.
No problem. Like I said, being consistent, being focused, and not worrying what others think, because a lot of times we lose focus in the beginning because we're not consistent. We don't see results. We don't see results quick, so then we give up. Or number three, we hear people tell us that we don't need to do that, so it can kind of shake our spirit, especially when it's people you know that know you, or it's family members that don't support you. It can make you feel a certain type of way. So you got to realize to keep on going. Because I'll say this now. I heard someone say one time, they were like, I don't understand why people can not see results while going to school and be willing to wait 4 years, but not feeling that same way with business. And I tell people all the time, that's two different things. Going to school for 4 years, you know you're gonna get a degree at the end, as long as you stay with it. In business, you could be working at that business for 4 years and never ever see no success because business is weird. So I say all that to say is you got to have consistency, because if you love it and you're not really worried about it, you're not going to be worried about what others think. And that's when the consistency and the focus to understand, you can't worry about others, allows you to keep on going. Because like with school, I do 4 years, I'll get a degree. As long as I get a class, as long as I pass, I can get a degree. C's and D's is passing. With a business, you do 4 years of it. If you're not really, if you're not really giving it all, doing everything you can to make yourself better, you'll be 4 years in business with no profit. I mean, we all know people that businesses that be like, yeah, we was in business for about 7 years. We never made a profit until the year 15. So you got to think, to be able to go that long, someone had to have a tough skin, understand that it's going to take longer, and not be worried about what others think. Because around 4 or 5, others are going to be like, man, you still doing that? You're not making no money? I think you might need to go and get your job back. That might not be for you, but the ability to block out what other people's think, keep going. And that same way with having your own podcast, 3 or 4 years, you might not see 250 downloads. You might only be seeing 50 to 100, but the ability to keep going, just like doing YouTube videos. It might take you to video 1,380 before you crack the 10,000 list, and then after that, just boom, 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 boom. But remember now, video 1,380.
You're not audible. That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
You were not audible to me for a while.
Yeah, so like you got to remember that. Like I was saying on YouTube, you might hit YouTube video 1,350 where you have success, but then you got to ask yourself, you get the video 1,350. That's literally almost 4 years worth of doing videos. That's a lot just before you even crack the 10,000 mark, and then all of a sudden now you're off and running. But it's the ability to be able to stay with it, even when you're not seeing results, and keep going with it, even regardless of what other people think. You got to stay with it, have the passion, and stay consistent.
Definitely. So that was really nice talking with you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time and the content which you're giving to us.
No problem.
And I will be linking down your website where my viewers can go and listen to your podcast and enjoy and get some more values from you.
Oh, no doubt, no problem. I guarantee you. Definitely tell them to check out the podcast, The Life and Times of Eric. Like you said before, you'll be linking in there so to be able to check it out. My podcasts are breaking into 3 different segments. Monday, we have Motivated Mondays. We talk about different topics that you could use or going for your entrepreneurship dreams or your career job, dealing with employees, dealing with different situations at work, how to use LinkedIn. Wednesdays, we have What to Do Wednesdays. We discuss different books, different people you should know about, like Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers. Going over different people you should check out, podcasting, finance. And then Friday, we have a question and answer segment where people write in, DM me, or email me questions, and I answer them, and I give them the best of my ability, lead them in the right direction so that I can help them out. So yeah, definitely check out the podcast. Each Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a different segment, and I guarantee you every episode has actionable tips that you can take today. Not 3 or 4 years from now, because God forbid you might not be alive, but I hope you do. But tips that you could take today to change your path and change your journey so that you can go after your entrepreneurship dreams or your career job.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir, once again. And
No
hope
problem.
to see you soon in this channel again. Thank you
No
so much.
problem. Thank you.